Hi everyone. On this screencast, I'd like to take you through one of the maps from the Math Learning Center suite that can help you with bar models, both for your instruction and for students' practice. So if I open up my Math Apps folder on my iPad, it's the fractions one in the top right. We'll tap on that. And at the bottom, you'll notice the blue toolbar, and there's a lot of nice features in there. We're going to start with the bottom right-hand lowercase I, and that, just for any reference later on, is a really good direction sheet. As you can see, if I quickly take you through this piece before I show you some problems, you can add a bar with fraction divides, or you could just have a blank bar. And then if you were doing a fraction lesson, you have the circle as well. You could shade in part of the bar. You can have the fractions represented on the left-hand side there with whatever you are shaded. You could rotate the bar to be horizontal or vertical, or even duplicate it. And like on the other apps in this suite, the circle that's two arrows making a circle is the clear all. You can use the multiplication, division, addition, subtraction symbol to open up like a calculator, but it also can just help you write a number sentence for students. And the pen comes in handy a lot when we're trying to, show our work or label things. And then the trash can's pretty self-explanatory. So if we were going to look at using this for a bar model problem, what I've done is on pages brought up, if we look at the first problem, for example, if we were to solve this using bar model, Mrs. Lee baked 36 cookies. 15 of the cookies were chocolate chip. If the rest were snickerdoodle, how many snickerdoodles are there? So if I go back to my fractions app, I'm thinking of a part-whole relationship, so I only need one bar. Now with this situation, it doesn't have sort of equal parts because we know there's 36 cookies and one part of them are 15. So I'm going to not select any of these numbers. I'm just going to tap away from it and leave it a blank box. If I want to make it a little larger though, I'm going to tap on it again and use the arrows on the side to make it a little longer. Then if you're not tapping the side, you can manipulate and move the bar all around. So now if I want to label this, that this whole bar represents cookies and really kind of take that step with students, I'm going to use the pen icon at the bottom. And it's ready to go. It looks like it has red ink. So I'm going to say that this whole bar represents cookies. Okay, and then cookies. And then if I remember back to the problem, probably have this posted on a smartboard or somewhere so students can refer to it, remembering that this total equals 36. So maybe we want to show it like this. Maybe we want to put it on the right-hand side, whatever's comfortable for you. And now I want to show the connection and breakup between the two flavors of cookies. So one of them is 15, we know that amount. And if we know that half of 36 is 16 or 18, then I'm thinking, okay, it's a little bit less than halfway. So if halfway is here, maybe I'll show students I'm going to make that be my 15 cookie mark. So I'll just erase the halfway point. And then just to make it clear, I'm going to choose a different color and say that these are the 15 cookies and they're the chocolate chip, but we don't know the snickerdoodles, so I'm going to put a question mark there. So now we're showing exactly what the word problem is asking us to solve, and then maybe I would just use another number sentence. And this is where I could bring up the operation bar at the bottom, and I could say and type in that we're going to take 36 minus 15 equals, if you wanted to do that. Of course, students could handwrite this as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead and solve it, and I'm going to bring up another color just in case you wanted to remind students of, let's subtract the ones column, and then let's subtract the tens column. So now if we know this answer is 22, which cookies does that refer to? It's the snickerdoodle. So I would go back in here, erase my question mark, and then I would write 21. So remembering that that's the answer there. So that's a nice way to show and use this fraction bar to represent bar models. But another bar model example is when we have sort of a comparison. We have two bars on top of each other. So I wanted to show that as well. I'm going to hit the bottom left-hand two arrows forming a circle to clear all. I'm going to hit yes. I'm going to take you back to pages to look at our second problem. Now we're going to look at Juan. Juan has 3 more seashells than Kim. Kim and Juan have 15 seashells altogether. So what's the number of seashells that Juan has? So I'm going to go back to the fraction and app. I'm going to pull up one bar. And again, I don't necessarily need to divide it into a certain number of parts. Even though he has 3 more than, we're going to leave it as just a regular bar. Then this would be, for example, Juan. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the writing tool and say, and put a J there for Juan's seashells. Then I need another bar to represent Kim's. So I'm going to bring up another bar. I'm going to not divide it, but since I know that Juan has 3 more, let me just lower this a little. I'm going to actually shrink Kim's just by a little bit. So I'm going to label it with a K. Another piece of information the problem told us was that altogether they have 15 seashells. So I'm going to just use a bracket to represent that. All right, and then another piece, I might change colors for this, is to show that this part right here is equal to 3, because we know that Juan has 3 more seashells than Kim. So now if we were to say that this whole thing, if we know this whole, all of the seashells together equal 15, I'm going to subtract 15 from 3. And again, you could bring it up with the other typing format, but I'm just going to, for ease and time, show that that's 12. So then I might show students with my orange that both of these bars together, these are going to need to equal 12 parts, right? So since both of those bars have an equal distance, then my next step would be to say I have 12, but I have to divide it by those 2 bars, which tells me I have 6. So now I'm going to erase this 12 here. I'm going to write in the number 6 in each bar. So now if I was to just double check my math, I can show students 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 3 is the 15. But what was the question asking me? How many seashells does Juan have? So then I would maybe again just pull out a different color. I would say 6 plus 3 equals 9. So Juan has, I'm going to abbreviate seashells with SS. Juan has 9 seashells, whereas Kim only has 3. Now, for our advanced minds, we would have known that automatically, but just as a way to show how this bar modeling can look and be executed on this app. One last thing I wanted to show you is when we do know how many parts we want a bar model to show. So I'm going to do one last problem with you. I'm going to go down to the 2 arrows forming a circle, clear the workspace, and one last time take you to pages for that word problem. So now we're going to look at Carmela. Carmela has 2 brothers. She gave 1/6 of her candy to one of her brothers and 2/5 of the remainder to her other brother. She has 12 candies left. How many candies did Carmela have at first? So we see a few things happening, and there's that comparison bar model. There's a change occurring and then a before and after result. So if we go back to the fraction app, I'm going to pull up a bar, but I'm remembering that the problem said that she gave 1/6 to her first one of her brothers. So I'm going to say that this bar needs 6 parts. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to make it a little larger, drag it to the middle, and I'm going to label. So I'm going to bring up my pen and just say candy. So this whole thing represents all of Carmela's candy. Maybe I'll say all of Carmela's candy. And then we have the shading opportunity down below, and you could use it in this situation, but only once. For example, we know 1/6 was given to one brother, so I could tap one of the boxes with one of the colors. What we're not able to do is tap another color and have that color be put in that box. A way around that is I'm going to go to my pen, and I'm going to shade it in just manually, like so, to show brother 2. But to back up and explain what I just did was to say that all of this equals all of her candy. And this part in orange was 1/6. I'm going to bring up a different color. It's getting a little monotonous here. So if we look at the remaining, oops, nope. If we look at the remaining after the 1/6 was given away, she was given, or she gave, that is, 2/5 to her other brother. So if these are all fifths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's why I shaded in the other two bars with red. And now what do we know? It says we know that she had 12 left over at the end. So I might bring in a new color. So just again to emphasize what we're looking at, that all of this equals 12. So then I might be asking my students to think, what do we need to do? We'd be taking 12 divided by 3. So where does that number go, and how do we make sense of all of this? I think I have one color left. I'll just use black because it'll stand out the most. What's really great to show students at the final wrap-up is how this digit goes into each of these boxes after the fractions are all taken care of. And so even though we only solve for what was in blue to equal 4, technically the entire bar, each of those equivalent pieces is 4. So now if I were to add up 4 6 times, or just multiply 4 times 6, another feature I like with this is that students who are weak with their multiplication skills, they can use this bottom area for workspace. So for example, if they're thinking to themselves, okay, I need to multiply 4 times 6, but I'm stuck on that, maybe I could make an array of 4 times 6. Oh, I'm doing 4 by 4. 2, 3. And they could do it that way. Maybe they're doing 4 groups of 6, or 6 groups of 4, pardon me. I'll do the other one over here. Either way, they have some options to show their work, and then they can come back and say that she had 24 pieces of candy to start with. But again, just kind of showing all the ways that this app can be used for that purpose, and it's really nice because the kids don't spend a lot of time